Welcome to the Jupiter Real Estate Market Update, Single Family Homes Edition, April 2025. I create these videos so that buyers and sellers of real estate in and around Jupiter can make data-driven decisions, not decisions based on fluff. The median price of single-family home sales in Jupiter is now $1 million. My name is Prindle, your Jupiter Realtor. If you've been thinking about buying or selling any real estate in or around Jupiter, give me a call, send me a text message, email me if you're too scared to call or text me. All my contact information is below. Data in this report typically runs 30 days behind, takes about 30 days to compile. So while we're in April, we will look at March data. In the immortal words of Matthew McConaughey, all right. How's everybody doing this month? Get into some numbers, shall we? All right, median pricing in Jupiter for single-family homes back at $1 million. We've been here a couple times before. I apologize for those of you that have watched a few of my videos. This will seem redundant. I don't put a whole lot of stock in this. To those of you that are new, here's why. There's a lower sample size if we look at just Jupiter. Not enough home sales, I feel, to make this kind of a meaningful number. And the trend on the chart looks totally chaotic because we don't have enough sales. So, use this with a grain of salt. Somebody did email me last month and said, okay, well, what can we look at that's meaningful for median sold price? And I said the trend in Palm Beach County overall would be probably what I'd want to look at. So at the end of the video, I'll circle back and do that, but that's what we got there for this month. All right, 93 sales last month. Got to tell you, I'm a bit surprised. I said last month I didn't think we were going to break this downtrend line, and look, we did. That being said, let's look back a little bit. History tells us a lot. January, February, March, look at the run-up. January, February, look at the run-up. February, March, look at the run-up. February, March, look at the run-up. January, February, March, look at the run-up. I point this out only to say this is one of the best months to have had your home listed. You'll see every single year we go through the same peaks and valleys, right? Here we peak June, May, June, July, right? So for single family homes in Jupiter, your best markets tend to be those March, April, May, June, sometimes into July, call it, before things start sliding down, right? Happens every year. So just kind of know that overall trend. Higher number of sales, going to be better for sellers, worse for buyers. Buyers are going to be in a more competitive market, the more sales that there are, obviously. So they would like to see fewer sales if they're looking to negotiate. Sellers would like to see more sales so they can unload their properties as quickly as possible. One thing I do want to note real quick, let's see, there are 452 active single-family homes in Jupiter right now, 93 sold. Approximately 20% of the active listed inventory turned over last month. So just to give you some context to that 93 number. Final note there, while I do not take a lot of stats seriously that I run through on these videos, I do take the total number of properties sold, along with the months of supply being probably the two things that I really want to look at the most, followed by listed sale price, median days, and then median price sold in square foot after that. Anyways, reason I bring this up is to say not a whole lot matters more than how many buyers are stepping forward, raising their hand and saying, yes, I want to buy a property this month. So it is a big deal to look at the total number of sales. Important to keep an eye on. Real quick, I'll digress for 1 second because we're talking about it. 93 properties sold. 454, like I said, this data runs about 30 days behind, but this is what was on the market. But look at the trend here. We've kind of just gone up in the amount of inventory out there for active listings. New listings coming to market, we keep kind of hitting up on the top here. So just keep that in mind. Not the greatest news for sellers, but we'll see how this plays out down the line. All right, sold to list price. For those of you that are new to this, a quick refresher. This is the amount that a property sold relative to its original listing price, not its lowered one. The original list price. Buyers want to see this number much lower because it means that sellers are moving their prices down and are willing to negotiate. If we're up top here, 100% of list price means sellers don't have to negotiate at all. This shows you more than the last, 2 years anyways? More of the time things have been in buyers' favor in terms of negotiating rather than sellers. So just kind of keep this in mind when you go into negotiations. Sellers, I think this means a couple of things. First, you have to be willing to negotiate. If you're still in the camp up here where you're like, hey, look, I got my listing price and I'm sticking to it. Probably not the best strategy right now. You have to understand that the market now is going to require some flexibility. So if I'm a seller, that's what I take from it. If I'm a buyer, what I take from it is don't fire offers off at 75% of list price because you're just going to waste everybody's time doing that. Let's move on. All right, if you're thinking about buying a house in Jupiter, first thing to do right now, pause this video, pick up the phone, give me a call, 786-443-7203. You can text me if you feel like it. If you're really shy, you can email me, but calling me is the easiest way to find me. And if I don't pick up the phone, it's probably because I don't know your phone number and I figure you're just another spam caller or somebody trying to sell me something. So leave a message and I'll get back to you. But call me sooner rather than later. Median days on market, here we are, 40 days. Looks like we're kind of heading down here. Going to be honest, this was a bit of a surprise to me. I said last month I thought we were going to keep heading up. That's what the market feels like to me. It feels like things are sitting on market longer. Now, of course, this is closed sale data. If a house is on the market for 180 days, 6-month listing period, 365 days, a year-long listing period, and it didn't sell and it just came off the market, it's not reflected here. House has to sell in order for it to be reflected. So just know, if we looked up at, let's see if we can do this. I tell you, I'm going, there we go. All right, look at that. I can find it. So the active listings, median days even coming down here again. I'm kind of surprised, but see there's a rift between the median days of actively listed properties and those that have sold. Likely because some of those properties that are listed for sale are going to end up canceling out and not going to sold. So, of course, lower number of median days is going to favor sellers. Higher number of days is going to favor buyers. Let's move on. Median price per square foot, just like median sold pricing, too small of a sample size. I'm not going to put a whole lot of weight in it. Look, the only thing that would really get my attention on this chart is if we break below 400 or above 500. Just because I think that would be kind of interesting, because it would kind of signal if we're on the way down. But look, I've said this time and again, the good stuff is selling. People are buying things in repaired conditions, and the stuff in repaired condition tends to sell for a bit more than the stuff that's all beat up. So makes a lot of sense that median price is still on the high side. But again, we've been pretty stable here the last couple of years in terms of median square foot pricing. And this doesn't apply to all markets. If you tell me you want a waterfront property at $439 a foot, we're probably not going to be able to do it. So that's what I got there. Let's move on. All right, total dollar volume. Going to use the same caveat that I used with everything else, smaller sample size. 158 million is respectable volume. However, as usual, the notes of caution. There were 2 sales inside a Bears Club, one at 22 million, one at 16 million. That's going to pad this a little bit, not as much as last month. If you saw last month's video, you know that a single sale made up a predominance of the volume. It's pretty wild. Look, I think this will be interesting if we hold above 150 million, just because, we've been there a few times before, but it would signal a more bullish market. That being said, as I always say, be careful, smaller sample size. And given the Jupiter marketplace and the fact that a couple of really high-priced homes can really skew this number, take a little bit of a grain of salt, right? But it's a pretty decent guide, and it'll be something interesting to watch. There is a lot of real estate data out there about Palm Beach County on the whole. There isn't a whole lot that's specific to Jupiter. That's why I create these videos. Now, that being said, this is still pretty broad. If you are looking in, say, Jupiter Farms, you're going to be in zip code 33478, where I live. If you're in closer to town, 33458. Those markets are going to look a bit different. So even though we look at overall statistics here, if there's a specific area that you're looking in, we're going to want to narrow these statistics down. If you're looking at waterfront property in a given area, all these metrics really aren't going to apply. So again, use this as an overall guide when you're looking in Jupiter, because there's just not a whole lot of data out there. That's why I like to get it to you. But if you have an idea of what you're looking to buy, get in contact with me. We really need to refine the data so that we can come up with an effective strategy for you to buy or sell your home. So of course, feel free to call, text, or email me. Let's start to work together, shall we? All right, here we are. I have saved what I think is the best chart for last. Months of supply, 5.5 months, 12 months change, only up 8.5%. Now, for some of you that have watched for a while, that 8.5%, that's one of the smallest increases that we've seen year over year. So that's of interesting note, right? It does look like we're leveling off or kind of curling down, possibly. That would be really good for sellers. Now, there's a couple of things that change months of supply, right? The amount of inventory we have or the pace of sales. You knew when we saw a higher number of sales that months of supply was likely going to be on its way down, right? Even though you saw the increase in supply, the number of sales proportionally outpaced the number of new homes that we had come to market. So we took a little bit of a turn downwards. I am super curious to see where this is going to go. Of course, lower months of supply is going to favor sellers. Higher months of supply is going to favor buyers. I've said this so many times, but it bears repeating. This just tells you kind of, if you want a snapshot of the market of who we're favoring, buyers and sellers, here it is, right? I've also said this before, 6 months is nationally what's considered to be a balanced market, favoring neither buyers nor sellers. I think here, if you look at the chart, you put about half the time below and half above. We're closer to 4 months. So I would say that we are slightly favoring buyers still right now. I think we get into a more neutral market around 4 months. So this will be wildly interesting to keep an eye on, right? All right, final thoughts. Let's talk about mortgage rates for a minute. You'll have to excuse me, I got to peek at my notes here a little bit. All right, so if you look back over the last year, you'll see rates peaked at around 7.25% on a 30-year fixed note back in January. The 7th of April, I was seeing quotes down around 6.6, 6.5, right in that range. Keep in mind, this is before any points, rate buy downs or anything like that. The result of lower rates is going to be buyers coming off the sidelines, right? Let me give you some context. Principal and interest payment on a $750,000 mortgage at 7.25% is $5,116.32 monthly. The rate on a 6.6%, the payment on a 6.6% rate is $4,789.94, a difference of $328.38 monthly. Look, I bring this up to say, this is why if you're a buyer and you're out looking and you're kind of going from the, well, if I see something I like, I may pull the trigger, and you see rates pull down like 100 basis points or down here 75 basis points, it's at some point going to make sense for you to say, you know what, the payment's much better down here. I got to get off the fence and buy something now if I want to take advantage of a lower rate, rather than waiting for that perfect opportunity when rates could be higher and I'll end up with a higher payment. It's a personal decision. That's just my opinion. I kind of look at bottom line numbers, and for me, if I was a buyer in this market, I would have kind of my feet on two pedals right now. One would be on actively seeing homes, getting a short list together of homes that I look at and say, this is my absolute dream, but if I had to do something today, this is the house I would take, and then looking at mortgage rates. And if there's just that flash crash and rates go down in a single day and something works out, then, you take advantage of it, because if your payment's going to be significantly lower. Now, again, this depends on the amount that you're mortgaging. The higher dollar amount that you're mortgaging, the more this is going to become a crucial part of your decision-making process versus a lower amount, because the dollar swings per month aren't going to be quite as large, right? So that's what I got there. Last thing, I told you guys we would look at Palm Beach County pricing, median pricing on the whole. Let's do that. All right, median sold pricing for Palm Beach County, Florida, the whole county, $649,900. So here we are. Pricing's been somewhat stable over the last couple of years, right? Aside from the doom and gloom that the papers or the news may be reporting, it's, kind of overblown headlines. I will also be fair and say this: Jupiter's median pricing is $1 million. The county's median price, $649,900. So if you're looking to go value shopping, Jupiter's probably not the neighborhood for you. There are certainly lower priced areas within Palm Beach County. Jupiter is going to be on the higher end of median pricing for the county. So, little context there. Anyways, if you are thinking about buying or selling, let's go. Give me a call, 786-443-7203. You want to just talk about the real estate market? Great. That's what I do all day. Give me a call. Either way, thank you for watching. I appreciate everybody, and have a good month, and we'll see you next month.